those statistics,
No,
Danielle,
but
they're
the
just
scarier part is though, so half, 50% of all those diabetic amputations, 50% of them are dead, flat dead in 3 years. So like and you look at insulin, right? So when a type 2 starts taking insulin, it's different for a type 1, completely different. Their pancreas is struggling or maybe doesn't work at all. But with a type 2, if you're injecting insulin, if you're on the highest dose, injecting insulin is the end of the road for you. That means glaucoma, that means kidney failure. That means getting your limbs cut off. 2/3 of all type 2 diabetics die of stroke and heart failure. I mean, that's just the end of the road. And it's so ridiculous. I mean, you can reverse type 2 in weeks. Type 2 diabetes is a choice. It is completely optional. And if you can reverse it more easily than you can stay diabetic, like why not just go through hell week, get off the garbage, lose the weight, you know, stop eating the things that are so addictive. I wanted to kind of get to that, right? So it's like, well, why are plants so addictive? Well, we talked about that the majority of, addictive substances in the world are plants. We'll go back to like the vegan diet or the raw vegan diet. What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? Well, it's like benefits, I don't see any. Uh, Drawbacks, I see only drawbacks. So if we remove any imaginary religious or environmental moral consciousness involved with vegans, no food on this planet, calorie for calorie, kills fewer animals than only eating meat, period. You kill a cow and eat a pound of beef every day for a year. You still don't have to kill another animal, not one, and you need no other nutrients from any other food source. Hundreds of pounds of food. One animal died. But then you look at wheat fields, cornfields, the glorious quinoa that these guys love, and no type of food production is killing the earth faster than monocropping. Tractors have flamethrowers on them for a reason. It's not just to kill weeds like they claim. They kill everything in their path, thousands of animals at a time. But if we want to just talk about nutrients in the vegan diet, whether it's raw or cooked, plant eaters alike, they like to talk about what they believe are all the wonderful antioxidants in plants. I mean, they are kind of right. Antioxidants in plants are produced by plants to protect plants. They're toxic to us. And but imagine even if they weren't toxic, what happens when you get too much oxidation from the outside, right? So antioxidants are interesting because our body uses oxidation and antioxidation to signal cellular activities, a myriad of cellular activities like growth, metabolism. Most of that is done inside the cell. So you create oxidation and then you synthesize antioxidants on your own that are just enough to keep everything in balance, right? When you're doing this on your own, right? Uh, we're taught to think that because a lot of chronic disease is caused by oxidation, right? Then we need to help our body by taking antioxidants. But since most of those, the oxidation antioxidant is done within the cell, you can't see what's going on inside the cell, right? So you don't know how much you actually need. People like to also argue that meat eaters don't get vitamin C. They like to use the scurvy argument, even though there's no cases of long-term meat eating carnivores in the world who've ever gotten scurvy. Since ruminant meat is the most bioavailable for human beings, um, you can you won't have optimal health on just chicken and fish. You won't. One of the things that's interesting about that, since we're talking about antioxidants, vitamin C. Well, vitamin C itself has a lot of antioxidant properties. Uh, what's interesting is if you take too much, you can actually prevent muscle growth after exercise. Muscle growth itself is stimulated by oxidation. So you actually, at that moment, you don't want antioxidants, right? Um,
true.
Another thing is we hear about all these superfoods, yeah, blueberries and turmeric. Well,
Oh yeah.
you look at curcumin in turmeric, right? So people like to take curcumin pills for what they believe is an antioxidant, right? But it's interesting because curcumin in the human cells is actually oxidizing. It's not an antioxidant, it's oxidizing. But by stimulating oxidation, the body can respond to the stress by making its own antioxidants because of that stimulant, which can have an overall antioxidant effect. In some cases, this can be a benefit, but in most cases, it's just more stress on the body. Oh, I'm taking all my wonderful plant-based antioxidants. It's just stress. But interestingly about vitamin C, most databases won't measure for vitamin C in meat, even though they've proven that it's in salmon, it's in multiple meat sources.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
just because databases won't say there is, it doesn't mean that there isn't. Uh, and also interestingly, on a ketogenic diet, uric and for 100 years or so, maybe a few hundred years, gout got blamed for meat. Oh, it's the rich meat diet. That's the one of the people I actually have going through the protocol now. We hadn't seen each other for 3 years and just bumped into each other in the airport one day, and I was like, oh crap, if you're not diabetic right now, you're going to be soon, like maybe flat dead. And I mean, just had the hyperpigmentation, black diabetic neck, had covered in skin tags, had put on a good many pounds, all in the waist, had, the thinner arms, thinner legs, which is all just waist fat and abdomen fat. And I put him on the protocol on the 10th of February, just a couple of months ago. The first 10 days, his face wasn't even recognizable. He had just covered in cysts, and it was just smooth and beautiful skin healing. And I was covered in these kind of itchy lesions all over his shins that the diabetics get. Doesn't itch anymore. Doesn't get acne anymore. Uh, just all this is just completely going away. His face is unrecognizable. Looks 10 years younger. And in 2 months, directly at the 2 month mark, he had lost almost 50 pounds. And he wasn't that big to begin with, just metabolically damaged. I mean, you look at Mexico, Mexicans consume the most corn of anyone in the world. Uh,
You had
or
testimony
my
from him.
What's that? I do. Yeah, yeah.
Testimony.
He's one of the guys on my about page, and he's also one of the videos in my community. Yeah.
Okay, great, great.
Um,
I got to check these guys
yeah, you,
out.
you should watch both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the guys I'm working with now, he's like, oh, I'm struggling with this first week. And so I'm like, okay, let me bring in the OGs, okay? And so I'm just been reaching out to people I'm helping and people I've worked with, and I'm like, come on, help him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Encourage,
Yeah. Nice.
encourage him to fight. That first
Yeah.
week is bad. If you come from drinking a gallon of coffee a day, you're gonna go through hell that first week. Um, yeah, and so anyway, one of the things I was saying is like one of the interesting things about vitamin C though on a ketogenic diet, and again, uric acid, gout got blamed, meat. Oh, it's the meat, it's the rich diet, it's the meat, it's the meat. Well, it's not. It's sugar. Sugar causes gout. Period. But and we need uric acid, right? And it's funny, on a ketogenic diet, in a state of ketosis, uric acid takes over many of the antioxidant functions of vitamin C, right? So you actually require very minimal amounts of vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are many arguments for the vitamin C argument, which have been completely debunked. But that's one of them. That's one that a lot of people don't mention is uric acid.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually
Mm-hmm.
very beneficial on a ketogenic diet. But anyway, so we were talking about how, I'm not, I don't agree with a vegan diet. And I believe that 10% of vegans left veganism last year. 10%. It it's it's slowly coming out how bad it is for
Oh,
you. Yeah.
yep.
But
I
one of the problems I definitely have with a plant-based diet is the toxic load, right? So I mean, there are tens of thousands of natural pesticides created inside of plants to protect themselves from us, from being eaten. They break these toxins made by plants, to attack us. They break into our cells, they kill our mitochondria, they use chemical enzymes to interfere with our metabolism. Some of them even attack and change our DNA. And
yeah.
it's funny too, because it's funny how a bad diet causes these genetic diseases. It's like, really? You weren't born with them? No one in your family has them, but you have this genetic disease? What if you're just eating a diet that destroyed your genes? It destroyed your DNA, right? To describe a few of these poisons, right? Yeah, everyone talks about oxalates, right? Oxalates, well, they cause kidney stones.
Oxalic acid and
Yeah,
oxalate. Yeah.
oxalates. They cause kidney stones. You look at phytoestrogens. They block the actual animal-based estrogen hormone, and they cause hormone imbalance and cancer. You look at tannins, right? They're extremely bitter. They're bitter so that you will spit them out immediately and run away. It's not like oh, the tannins, perfectly aged. It's a poison. You look at phytates. They keep you from absorbing nutrients. They intentionally cause nutrient deficiency. You look at lectins, one of the most popular being gluten, right? They stick to your intestinal wall and they cause it to open up and leak undigested food into your bloodstream. Leaky gut, inflammation, autoimmune disease. Everyone's heard of leaky gut. It's kind of um, like a buzzword going around, like, oh, the
Sure.
leaky gut, yeah. Lectins also disrupt the communication process between neurons. They actually make your brain function worse, not better. Um, Lectins, they also cause blood cells to clump together,
Hmm.
and which is interesting, right? So once they're clumpy, your blood cells have clumped together. There's not really a good purpose for them, so your body disposes of them. But then over time, your body disposing of blood cells that have not aged out of the programs. You look at typical red blood cells, they live some 90 days, 3 months. But if they're constantly just getting thrown out, even if these are brand new blood cells, they're already damaged, they're clumped together, and they're getting thrown out, you end up with anemia over time. And beans are the highest in lectins of any other food. You look at phytic acid. Phytic acid's job is to hold on to essential minerals for the baby, right? So the phytic acid in seeds, which you're like, oh, I had my healthful meal of oatmeal and almond milk, topped with toasted pecans and peanut butter. Okay, so you had a bowl of seeds and toasted seeds and ground seeds. Where was the real food? What actually made that healthful? You had a giant bowl of phytic acid and anti-nutrients. So what does phytic acid do? It steals essential minerals from you, right? So that's its job. It holds onto minerals so that they remain undigested if you are unlucky enough to eat them, in the hopes that the seed remains intact when you pass it and it gets planted somewhere far away from its mother, right? So like us and we don't have the ability to break this down. Us ingesting phytic acid, it ends up stealing nutrients from us, binding to our minerals, phosphorus, iron, zinc, magnesium, calcium, preventing the absorption of all of these things and passing through our digestive tract, stealing the minerals along the way, all the way to the colon. And you have glycoalkaloids. This is a natural pesticide, right? At first, they're bitter. It's why you can't eat, or you shouldn't eat green potatoes, right? This initial, like, you ever bite into a raw potato? You're like, oh, the sap, the bitter taste is the first hint that you shouldn't be eating it. Spit that out immediately. If you ignore that warning, it's a neurotoxin, right? The natural cholinesterase inhibitors in a potato, they prevent the breakdown of acetylcholine. You're like, what's acetylcholine? Acetylcholine we use to carry messages between nerve cells and muscle cells, right? So ultimately, this acetylcholine blocker, whenever it's not being carried to our nerve cells and muscles cells properly at the right timing, it actually ends up overstimulating our nervous system. I don't know if you've ever heard of potato paralysis, right? Um,
Raw
and
food vegan, yeah. Been there,
yeah,
done that.
which
Yeah.
it can cause paralysis, convulsions, even respiratory arrest and death from eating potatoes. Like, what American kid hasn't eaten their weight in French fries, right? And we're roasted, boiled, baked, mashed, any way you can get them. And we're taught our whole lives, oh, it's a wonderful, filling health food, especially if you leave the skin, which is not nutritious at all. It contains some of the most toxins. That's my rant on plants for now. In the course, I do go deeper on that. I do address that even more deeply, but in a few minutes, those are some of the things we can cover as why you should not be eating them, or at least take a break from them long enough to get healed. And
Hmm.
then as far as Like when eating meat, do you have to eat organs? That's kind of a big one of controversy. Even in the exclusive meat eaters, some people hate them. Some people live on them exclusively. I've eaten my fair share of liver. Sometimes raw, sometimes cooked. I eat a lot of pate. Is it necessary? No. There are many long. We're talking 10 years or more. Uh, strict meat only eaters who only eat muscle meat, and they're fine, totally fine. So is it necessary? No. Are supplements necessary? No. We kind of covered that. The supplement industry is highly unregulated, multi-billion-dollar industry. Multiple companies have been sued and fined for putting sheetrock powder, cellulose, all kinds of fillers into these supplements that are unregulated. And many of them are, again, we're talking about plant toxins. Many of the supplements in the supplement world are entirely synthetic or the plant form of a vitamin, and they're toxic. And so I don't think you have to eat organs. You don't have to eat raw meat, and you don't have to take supplements.
Agreed. Yeah. I do organ meats because I have this mindset when I was a vegetarian, or long before I turned vegan, even that, and I think it was Joel Wallach, I think his name was, and
Yeah, he's pretty cool. My
he's
parents
very
went to
cool.
one of his talks and came back with like the 180,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he
Back in
did the
the 90s,
hundreds
I think.
of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
and researched them, and he found that the water that came from the high mountains and whatnot, it came down into almost a white, because it was so mineralized, and he felt like
Yeah.
that was part of their longevity and whatnot. So I got into minerals, liquid colloidal minerals,
Mm-hmm.
quite a bit, and they really, because I was heavy into vegetarianism, they really helped me. So
Yeah.
I have this, I know this is your interview, but I
No,
have
no, no,
this
no. Hey,
thought.
I told my group, I'm like, hey, we've got a for sure protocol virtuoso on the interview, and he's been doing it a little longer than I have, and
Yeah.
yeah, sorry,
So
yeah,
I get it from the Native American Indians, and also
mm-hmm,
the Eskimos and African Bushmen. What they ate, like especially the Native American Indians that I've researched most deeply, they ate, some of them, the stronger ones, the really healthy ones, and the tall ones, and the really robust. They ate the whole buffalo. They
yeah,
ate
which
nothing but
which
the
I do
buffalo.
believe in. I do
So I,
believe, but can you reverse it without it? Yeah, you can.
well,
If you're
yeah,
gonna
I don't.
freaking gag,
I
you
went
know,
so long without organ meats.
yeah,
I'm a believer that I don't absolutely have to have them.
yeah,
But when you were talking about moles and stuff falling off and warts and whatnot,
mm-hmm,
I I may be, I don't know, I just might be imagining this, but I think that when I started, because a couple days ago I ate brain, I ate heart yesterday, and
mm-hmm.
the adrenal gland and
Kidneys
the
are
thyroid gland
insanely
and the spleen and the
helpful.
kidney,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
mostly, especially the kidney. Danielle, I have to, like, I listened to what you're talking about, and getting out the taste of the kidney is just really hard to get down.
It's
I have to
it's
cook it and
strong. Heart,
saute it
I
in
feel like
butter.
heart is too. It's
Yeah, so
strong
I only
and
eat very
tough.
minimal pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but so that's my take on it. Not good or bad or whatever, at all what it is. Um, and then, the things you told about vitamin C. There's been so enlightening, this interview. I appreciate it, because the fact that you
I
know
was
I,
kind of all over the place. I tried to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
as
yeah.
orderly as possible, but
Well,
there's
my
so much I
research is
could
that,
say. It's hard to just say it in a straight, linear, orderly fashion.
yeah, you did a great job. Well, we're not over yet, but just getting back to the vitamin C, the things that you told me about scurvy and whatnot. I did a lot of research on, especially the Eskimos and the frontiersmen and the pioneers, that missionaries that went, and the whalers and everything, early Eskimo discovery and research and whatnot, back pre 1800 or pre 1900s, in the early mid 1800s. They didn't have cancer. They had perfect teeth and everything, but they didn't ever get scurvy. And
Mm-mm.
all these, white men pioneers that would go in there, a lot of them got scurvy.
Yeah,
And
and
because they brought in
same the
with
Alaska
them the
Natives.
flour, they brought in with them
Yeah,
the jerky
yeah.
and the
And
salted meat
these
and
guys were eating dried meats and drinking
yeah,
blood. Yeah,
right. It's salted
yeah.
and didn't have any fat in it. And with all that, I appreciate your comments about the vitamin C and how the Eskimos, for one thing, didn't need that much vitamin C, but they did. I
Well,
mean,
they were
but they
getting
got
it
it.
from whale fat and
Yeah,
some seal meat. I mean, they were getting, you are getting it from meat, definitely from
yeah,
salmon, from the roe. Just because the database, again, doesn't say it's there, doesn't mean it isn't. They just
yeah.
didn't test for it.
So the
It, it supports
Vladimir,
a narrative, I
right?
think.
Right, it's a number. Yeah, it's been in our society is just
Like,
indoctrinated us to
eat
make
less,
this
move
false
more.
belief. Yeah, yeah. So
All the three-letter industries support that narrative because it isn't sustainable and it sells things.
three-letter
Well,
industries are correct. Yeah, three-letter industries. Let me think. No, no.
we won't say those
Oh
out
yeah,
loud.
yeah. Thank you for stopping me there because
We don't
we
need to
don't
be
need to go there.
deplatformed.
We don't need to go there. So I've got the big question at the bottom of my list here, and I think you
Oh,
remember. Okay, are you ready for that?
like that.
Okay, no. Okay, so the whole society, our culture, everything looks towards supplements, which if you take supplements, you're telling the universe, you're telling everybody that you're not getting enough nutrient dense food. So over here in we know all about vitamins, we all know about supplements and the minerals and folic acid and ABCD, all these minerals and stuff and vitamins.
Hmm.
Over here, we are not ever taught about what is the most nutrient dense foods. Okay, you remember now this question? Okay,
Yeah.
five of them. Danielle, what
Yeah.
are the top five most nutrient dense foods?
Well, you've got, I don't know if if you want to look at like the deeply nutrient dense ones, salmon roe. I mean, and some of these aren't necessarily easy to come by for a lot of people. Salmon roe, beef liver, um, chicken, especially like the fattier parts, the thighs. Like you want thighs or wings, like a 50-50 ratio of fat and protein is usually a really comfortable place for a lot of people to stay. Um, Grass-fed butter, uh, and lamb, any sort of ruminant animal. If you can get your hands on it, good quality ruminant meat is the most bioavailable thing there is, really. Um, Ribeyes, chicken eggs, pork belly. Sometimes pork, people with low stomach acid or damaged intestines can have a histamine response. So pork is iffy for some people. Um, Raw dairy, bone broth, because yes, there are shellfish as well. One of the things we particularly tend to um, be deficient in is magnesium, and shellfish tend to have a lot of magnesium that's quite bioavailable. Um, well, magnesium particularly because when people for thousands of years were drinking out of streams and rivers, we were getting magnesium from our water. But with modern day plumbing, magnesium is removed from treated water because it gums the pipes, and so it's a choice between, well, do you want running water or do you want magnesium? But and it sucks that we have to make that choice because we're not getting it from our food, especially if we're eating these typical, white bread, coffee utterly depletes you of magnesium. Carbohydrates utterly, monstrously deplete you of magnesium. And so you're seeing people on these high carb diets, extremely nutrient deficient, and they all
Hmm.
have high blood pressure. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, yeah, because a lot of vitamins and minerals they work in pairs or in groups, and so you look at calcium contracts, magnesium relaxes, like a seesaw. So if you have plenty of calcium and no magnesium, you're staying your blood flow is kind of like squeezing a garden hose. You didn't necessarily, no one turned up the water pressure, but you just holding it and giving it less space to pass through increased it. And and then because we're drinking this empty water, water, you're pissing it out in 20 minutes, but it takes 2 hours for water to get into your cells. So, with this empty water being, because it directly passes through the stomach lining. It's not digested. It just instantly is passed through. But if it's empty, it's completely devoid of any sort of minerals. It's passing through too quickly, and it's not actually hydrating you. And not only is it not hydrating you, it's often moving so fast that it's actually taking electrolytes with it. So you have all this blood pressure problem, and it's like, well, you're severely dehydrated and you're magnesium deficient. You're eating a bunch of carbs, which every gram of carbs I've heard takes some 53 molecules of magnesium every single gram. And then if you're
Oh.
drinking coffee on top of that, coffee absolutely strips magnesium out of your body. So it's
Hmm.
like, so yeah, the high carb diets and the blood pressure medication almost always run hand in hand. Um,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, where do you get your water?
I live in a third world country, man, and I'm not rich. So like there's a company that purifies water here in
Yeah.
town. Yeah.
I,
But do I have any control over the rest of it? Like all of our water
mm.
it's basically microwaved by the sun in a black plastic tank on top of the roof. And am I like scrubbing my body in microplastics? Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear
Is
you.
is there any way to prevent that? Not unless I want to give up showering.
Yeah. No, I hear
Yeah.
that. That's one of the things. So in the top five, I'm hearing salmon roll, beef
The
liver,
eggs, like salmon eggs, salmon roe, salmon eggs.
egg.
Yeah. ROE, roe. It kind of like caviar or something, but roe is raw.
Oh,
Yeah, like
okay. Oh,
yeah.
roll. Okay. Yeah.
Which
Okay.
which I usually don't list that one because it's expensive. It's hard to come by. Have I eaten my weight in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would eat 2 pounds a day in Alaska because it's free on the
Yeah.
boat. The sacks just fall out of the salmons anyway.
So
So
and then might be in the top five is liver.
ruminants,
Ruminant
well,
liver could be
ruminant
lamb
animals.
liver, could be
Any ruminant, that is the most bioavailable food pretty
okay.
much known to man.
So
Yeah.
liver might be at the very top.
Yeah, but most people wouldn't want to live on it. Some people are
Yeah, I don't think you
susceptible
should live
to
on
like
liver. I
vitamin A
think it.
toxicity,
Yeah,
So, some
I'm.
people are, and you
I
can't live on it exclusively. And so you look
no.
at like, well, look at it naturally too. So if you were to take down some 2,000 pound bull or
Cow
something,
or bull or whatever.
well,
Yeah, it's
you're
only
only
a
going to
part.
get this much
Yeah,
liver. The rest
yeah.
is other
Uh-huh.
organs, skin, fat, muscle, meat. And so like you would look at it in the natural.
Yeah.
Uh, in a natural setting, like would you be eating liver every single day? I
No,
doubt
no,
it.
no, no.
I
I
doubt it.
I have to
You
cut
just
my
wouldn't
liver
have
down
that
because
availability.
I get premium liver. It's like eating candy to me anyway.
It's really weird.
But so
I've never liked it raw. It's very, very sweet here. I have no idea what they're feeding them or if that's a good thing, but it's
yeah,
super sweet. It almost tastes
yeah,
like sugar. It's very strange.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but
It's
it's absolutely
well,
delicious.
I go by looking at it too, and the texture, and
Mhm.
some of it's
Uh,
bad.
No
Some of it
fatty
is, I mean, is
deposits.
not
Yeah.
good. So, but
Sometimes
I get choice cattle, and
mm,
I get to see the cattle. I get to see my butcher and everything. If you'd looked at, well,
yeah,
I have a
I did. I saw
the
your video,
local
yeah.
my
At the
local
butcher. Mhm.
butcher. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So and then the next thing you mentioned about was grass-fed butter, which
Yeah.
I get.
Raw, if you can get it. I mean, really, if you've ever looked at the Pottinger's cat studies, I mean,
So
this
I
man
get
had hundreds of cats, and he put them in cages and divided them up. And in some of
Pottinger,
the cats, yeah, Pottinger's cats,
right?
famous. All
Oh
he did
yeah.
was cook the meat. And then in some, he cooked the meat and gave them raw dairy, cooked dairy, pasteurized dairy. And so he broke down these mechanisms, and all the ones that he made incredibly sick, he could heal again with raw meat. But then the damage, sometimes the ones with these completely inappropriate diets, were damaged for generations. Like even their babies and their grandbabies were still having these birth defects and bad skeletons and poorly developed skulls. And so it's like, and you look at like the typical nutrient profile of a lot of meat. Many of those many of the things that in it that are directly nutritious, by the time you cook it up to medium, much of the time you've lost half of the nutrient profile. So if you can tolerate to eat, your meat lightly seared, uh, or rare, medium rare. Try to incorporate that sometime. Just
Mhm.
just to kind of supplement your cooked meat. And I the other day I did almost a week of 100% raw diet, and it was filling, and I was eating far less, but I was completely like I did not have any of the satisfaction that I have from cooked food. And I think cooking our food is largely like just a pleasure thing. I think it's largely about pleasure. I mean, yeah, I get
Uh,
if you have some rotten meat and you need to kill the bacteria or something, sure, cook it well done, whatever. If you're scared of that. Um,
You're hitting a very good point because in my research and all these ancestors, the Eskimos especially, because they cooked some of their fish in their meat, and
Sometimes
and
it
they
did,
would,
and it is
I
about
mean,
pleasure. Like,
but the
and
word Eskimo in the Indian language means eaters of raw meat. That's what the word Eskimo means from the Indian language. And
yeah.
so they're noted for that. But in this, especially Stefansson, who he spent 11 years living with
Uh-huh.
the Eskimo, eating what they ate, and
Hmm.
his books are just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I read them, he talks about how that they would they would boil their fish and whatnot. Of course, they ate them raw, and they ate everything raw. But
Sometimes fermented, like
when they
yeah, they
boiled it
were
or whatever,
different
it was
forms.
just
Yeah.
more like. And I mean, as I'm talking about it, they saved the fish heads for the children because they were the delicacy. I mean,
The brain and the eyes.
raw and everything, the brain and eyes and
Yeah.
everything.
Which is
Uh,
like one of the best sources of cholesterol, like raw
but
brain.
but I think you're touching a real point here with you're saying that, and I do the same thing because I eat some raw, but that just warmed up is just like so much more.
It
Maybe it's
is
all
pleasurable. It's
it
very
might be
pleasurable.
some kind of fantasy or fallacy or some kind of
It could also be like our
imagination.
childhood, right? Because we always had it cooked, and so that's what we know, and that's what's comfortable. But I mean, even with meat, like knowing and developing a taste for raw food, like there is something very, very satisfying about cooked meat. Yeah. And so
Yeah,
I have been experimenting with about 20% raw. And I did days of
yeah,
100% raw. Um,
yeah. I like to say
yeah.
I like my steaks cold in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, and soft. And it's interesting too, so does your body. Like I tell people
Yeah,
all the time, they're like, "Oh, the body needs the vegetables and everything." And I'm like, "Well, that's really interesting because what do you see floating in the toilet? Corn, broccoli, unchewed up spinach. Have you ever in your entire life ever seen, unless you vomited, have you ever seen hamburger in the toilet? Ever floating around? Have you ever seen steak in the toilet? Have you ever seen eggs in the toilet? Like your body obviously, very obviously wanted those and it rejected the other stuff. Couldn't even touch
people,
it. I mean, completely unchewed whole pieces of
you're
vegetable matter.
you're
But
hitting all the points, Danielle, because the people I've been talking about poo with my family for years, even when I was raw food vegan and vegetarian, and
yeah,
telling me you got to look at the poo because that's going to tell you how healthy you are. And but you bring
well,
this point
I
up
I
is
don't
that
name mine or anything. I'm just saying, like, look at what your body is rejecting. That's my only
right?
my only purpose in that. It's like, look at what it's rejecting. And I mean, I get people sometimes when they're adjusting, yeah, their colon forgets how to work, and sometimes it comes out too dry or something. But your colon is supposed to control the moisture level in your feces.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to get raging diarrhea. You're not supposed to get constipated. It's supposed
So
to make it just right as it comes out.
so what's the perfect poo?
Um, I mean, they come out like peanut butter that looks like it's squeezed out of a toothpaste tube.
Okay,
It
is it
should
gonna
be
float?
perfectly smooth and
Okay,
painless,
all right, we're
not
there. What
smelly.
about floating?
It could be some gallbladder trouble, like if especially if you have like a greasy layer in the top, your gallbladder sucks. You're not
So
breaking
should
down
it
the
float
animal
or
fat.
sink?
Almost 100% of the time it sinks. Unless like you have
100%
some.
of the time, what?
Almost 100% of the time it sinks. Like on a meat diet. Yeah. If I do occasionally go off and have like a coffee or chocolate or something, if I add plants, it will float. Yeah. On meat though, no, it just disappears. Goodbye.
So it doesn't float, it sinks. Mine always floats.
Hmm. And it could be
And it's,
different. You know, maybe
if it
yours are
doesn't,
aerated, okay?
if it doesn't, I'm thinking I just did not get enough fat because I make sure there's enough fat on there and I eat it on the plate. And if
Hmm.
I don't eat enough fat, it will sink. But if my food always floats because I make sure I eat enough fat. That's my story. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I'm just lending my story because my kids are gonna
And
watch this
you know, and
video.
it could be different. It
Yeah,
mine
yeah,
same.
yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
depends
we
on,
I didn't know
like
we
you
were going
say,
there, but
yeah, yeah. It depends on who and what you've been, what maybe even what country you're at.
I'm gonna have to start asking people now.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
notes.
yeah. But it's so
Most of the time, they're just happy if they go at all when they're, especially when they're adjusting.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's a good point you brought up, and I think it's important to look at it. And like you say, if you do look at it, you're going to see plant food. You're going to see it, and you
Yeah, but
won't
it's
see
like
any of the
you
meat or
don't see
anything like that,
meat.
or the
Like
fat.
that is
It's going to
what
be
your body is
completely
digesting. That's what
digested.
it wants. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. And that's one of the things I usually bring up in the beginning. It's like, yeah, but what passed through completely unused? You know, did your body reject the hamburger? Did it reject the eggs? Do you see chicken in there? No. They're
yeah.
like, yeah, but I need that to clean out the things. Who told you it was dirty? Like our
So,
body is remarkable at repairing itself when it's not
yeah.
being damaged constantly.
So that brings up another one. How often do you poo?
Some people, some long-term 100% animal-based go once a week. Um,
Thank you.
I,
When I was raw
I
food vegan, it was like 3 times a day, sometimes four
massive
or
ones
more.
too, like Subway-sized sandwiches ones, you know? Yeah, because you're not using what you're eating. And do you get an award for the biggest manure production on the day you die? Like, do you get an award for that? I mean, why are we being taught that this is normal? Like, oh,
Yeah,
it has to be as big and regular and constant as possible. Why? That's a lot of work. And like you don't hear about meat eaters getting bleeding hemorrhoids.
no, no. The amount of times I poop is just amazing how little it is and how much I eat. I'm going like,
And, do
man,
you,
I should be going here
and
sometime.
again,
But
there's no
the
bloating.
body
There's no
absorbs it.
flatulence. Do you ever burp? Like I don't burp.
No, no, no gas, no
No,
burping, no
zero.
acid reflux.
Either no, yeah, and
Burping,
unless
thanks for bringing it
I'm
up. I
having
don't
mineral
burp
water, like
anymore. Yeah,
sparkling mineral water, yeah. But like
yeah,
that's a nice thing. There's so many of the things that we're just taught is normal. Really,
yeah,
they're not. They're really caused by a bad diet.
yeah. Gas is one of them. It's amazing that so often I was just it's a regular thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah, and
natural.
that's one that a lot of people like to call us liars for, and it's just like, why would anyone lie about that?
No, no. I mean, yeah, hang out with me. I'll show you. I mean, I won't show you.
There will be
Yeah,
an interesting void in our acquaintance.
I think that's all the questions I've got. Danielle, what do you want to tell the folks back home and whoever's watching this? What what um what advice have you got? What have you looking forward? Of course, we all want to visit your website and know more about you and what you're doing. And actually, many of us know diabetics, and we
Yeah.
want to send them your way, and you help reverse it. So
Mhm.
give us something to end this on, Danielle. What do you want us to know?
I don't know that, you know what, type 2 diabetes is a choice. You know, unless like you've had your stomach surgically removed and you're on some sort of intravenous food supply. Maybe you have stage 4 cancer and you have 3 days to live. I mean, like, unless you're so late to the game, yeah, there's hope for you. It is completely a choice, and it is easier to reverse type 2 diabetes than it is to stay diabetic. Whether you're a new member or a future one, if you guys are watching this, there is help. You're being lied to. You don't have to be on medication the rest of your life. Not for type 2 diabetes. There could be some other things, you know, that other health problems that might be beyond our scope to help you with, but just a
Hmm.
regular overweight type 2 diabetic, yeah, it's like magic. You get on the right diet, you fix your hormones, the weight, flies off. And usually, And that's why I say like I help you lose your first 50 pounds. Usually the first 50 pounds after that, things normalize and people come off insulin like that just with the first 50 pounds.
Hmm.
A lot of the time they stop eating food that's screwing up their blood sugar, their liver, starts getting rid of some of the fat storage. And
Hmm.
they start coming off the metformin, they start getting some magnesium in them and they stop having to use the blood pressure medication. They start getting properly hydrated. They have more energy and they're just moving more naturally. Not that I ascribe to the eat less, move more. That's a lie anyway. It's unsustainable, but
Hmm.
they just
Hmm.
naturally are happier and have more energy and they want to move around and they just feel good. And they start moving around and just and it's like they say a healthy man may have 1,000 dreams, but a dying man has only one.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so it's like as soon as you do get your health back, you are a better father. You are
Good.
a better husband. You are a better employee. You are a better business owner. Like your entire life in every like the ripples in a pond, in every direction outward gets better when you are healthy, when you're not in pain, when you're mobile, oh, I dropped my wallet and it takes you 5 minutes to bend down and get it, or you can't get out of your car. You can't stand up off the toilet. I mean, like your body starts breaking down. You wake up in horrible, horrendous pain, and all you want to do is eat junk food to give you that dopamine hit and feel better. And it's like when you don't have any of those problems, all of your life gets so much better, so much better. And now you're not waking up in pain. You're not terrified. Oh my gosh, can I even take that trip? Where am I going to put my insulin? Like, oh, are they going
Yeah.
to have the proper diabetic food that I can eat? Like, oh, will I be able to get up the stairs? And all those fears just go away. And all you can think about is, what do I want to do today? What do I want to
Yeah.
eat?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
eat a
Yeah.
delicious meal. And
Yeah.
you run to your car, you drive to work and you're not in pain or tired. You
Yeah.
you enjoy your job. You chase your children,
Yeah.
and run around and tickle your wife or whatever. I mean, like you get your life back.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get your health back and you get your life back.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
easy. It's easier than anyone else is gonna tell you.
it's obvious you worked with these people when you talked about the taking 5 minutes to pick up the wallet. I've been there, done that, and so it's so such a good life to leave, not to live, but to leave, and I'm
Because it's like,
not
who
going
cares
back
about
there.
weight loss, right? Like, oh, I want to weigh this much. Well, no, who cares about a number? Like, what do you want to do with that? Like,
Yeah, I want to be able to pick
you want
up
if
my
you want to
wallet
chase your
in
children,
2 minutes, 2 seconds.
to eat delicious food? Do you want to go on a trip and never worry whatsoever about medication, your blood sugar? Do you want to like put on clothes and feel handsome? Like, do you want to look in the mirror and not hate the person looking at you? Like, you
Yeah,
disgusting, lazy cow. I mean, who wants to look in the mirror and think that about themselves?
yeah,
Like, what kind of man wants to wake up and he doesn't have an erection? Like, because if you're not waking up every single day with an erection, you are not healthy. Period. If you're a man, okay? I mean,
thank you.
so
But that's another thing that
you are not
see. I'm
healthy,
seven.
And so
I'm
it's like,
73, and at this age, all my friends, and I talk to them. They don't get it. That erection thing was gone years
yeah,
ago.
in their mid-30s. Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, 3 o'clock in the morning, it just happens,
Yep. Oh yeah.
and it's
And
natural.
usually
It's supposed to happen.
eating my way by day 3, almost 100% of the men I work with, eating my way. They listen, they follow the protocol. By the day 3, they're going and they're stabbing themselves in the eye and they're just like, whoa, that was weird and
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
I want to go
yeah,
conquer the world today. And it's like, yeah,
yeah. Well, it gives so much besides confidence. It gives this some kind of energy that you have going forward, where you're. I don't know. It's not masculinity. It's some kind of, and I want to say confidence, but it's some kind of just not pride, because that's not it. It's more like you're just into your natural self. You feel more. I mean, alive. I could talk all day
something's right,
about it.
blood flow, blood flow.
Yeah,
So
and
you're
blood
just
flow,
working right. Your hormones are good, your blood flow is good,
and
you can feel your feet. I mean, like,
right, be the thing is probably hormones. When your hormones flow
yeah,
naturally,
yeah,
you're
and,
just
and
more comfortable.
you're running on a fuel source
Yeah,
that is neuroprotective. So like your brain isn't foggy, you have energy. I mean, just
yeah. You're
once
less
you
angry.
fix
You're
this,
just more calm.
everything gets better. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's awesome, Daniel. Thank you. I'm glad I asked you that question, because good answer, and I'm gonna start hooking up with you so you can talk with them because they need your help.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
and
sure
they
they'll
just
all lean
a
into
lot
it.
of people just need the awareness, like, oh wow, there's an option. There's an option, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they need to be aware of and follow. I mean, you know, it's not that it's like you said, it's a simple thing, hard to do, but it is a simple thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And well, I mean, honestly, like you s- I get them off the addictive stuff, and a lot of them start to crave what I have them eating. And it becomes way, way less hard. I mean, yeah, I even to this day I smell coffee and I remember its glory. But like it has no power over me. I can enjoy it and then just kind of move on with my day. Like because it's always coming up from the floor below me all day long through the windows, and I enjoy it. I'm like, ah, it smells delicious, but I don't need one. I can just enjoy it for what it is, like the free
yeah,
wafting through the air, and I'm
yeah,
totally
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Okay, Daniel. Well, I think we kind of
Oh, we have, yeah.
yeah, done for today. And
Mhm.
we'll do this again, I'm sure, at some point in time. And I'd like you to interview me or something and
Yeah, for sure,
move
for
on.
sure.
Ah, thank you.
I hope I was helpful. I was
Oh
a bit
gosh.
scattered. I'm
It's-
sorry about
When
that,
you're
but
when you're going by yourself and you're going on and on, I think to myself, why am I even saying anything? Because you may be bouncing around, but you're very on point with what the points you're coming up with and everything. And I've got a bunch of notes here, but it was very on point. I mean, it sure we did cover a lot and maybe not in some chronological order, but it was just great. All right, Danielle, thank you much, and we'll keep in touch too. I'm so excited for you. So we'll talk more and give me a couple days to get this edited, and I'll
for
send it
sure.
to you, and then we'll talk.
Okay. Bye.